My wife said, "Don't make this ugly," while standing beside the man she swore she barely knew. I was sitting in that beige mediation room with a paper cup of cheap coffee going cold in my hand, when she stepped aside and made space for him at her shoulder like he'd earned a spot there. Fluorescent lights, scuffed laminate table, legal pads everywhere, and my wife, ex-wife in training, I guess, standing next to the guy who'd been just someone from the gym, telling me not to make it ugly. My leg wouldn't stop bouncing under the table. I stared at his hand resting lightly on the back of her chair, the same way I instinctively do when we go out and a stranger stands too close to her, except now I wasn't allowed to feel protective. Now my job, apparently, was to sit quietly and not be dramatic, while they presented me with a neat little plan for dismantling my life. "Ryan," she said like she was soothing a skittish dog, "we all want this to stay civil, please don't start." She had that tight smile on, the one she uses with waiters when the order's wrong but she doesn't want to be that customer. The mediator, a woman in her 50s with sensible glasses, glanced between us like she'd walked into a soap opera. The guy next to my wife, Mark, shifted his weight but didn't move his hand. He was taller than me, annoyingly. Button-down shirt, no tie, that expensive casual look you get when you iron your jeans. He tried to meet my eyes, then looked away like he'd decided the floor was safer. My heart was thudding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. All I could think stupidly was that I'd seen that hand on my wife's back in another context, in a parking lot 2 months ago, and she'd looked me straight in the face and said, "Babe, I barely know him." We'd been together for 9 years when it all blew up, married for 4. We met in a crowded bar bathroom line, which sounds like a bad joke, but I swear it was. I was standing there, half drunk, staring at a poster about hand washing, when this girl in a yellow dress squeezed into line behind me and said, "You look like you're about to solve a murder." I told her I was just trying to figure out how they got the soap dispenser to work. She laughed, and 20 minutes later we ditched our friends and were sharing a plate of fries. That was Katie. Quick with a joke, quick with a smile, always finding the most ridiculous angle on boring situations. I fell hard and fast. I didn't grow up watching a lot of healthy relationships, so when something finally felt good and stable, I clung to it like it was the last life raft. In the beginning, we were that annoying couple you'd roll your eyes at on Instagram. Picnic photos, dumb inside jokes in the captions, mutual friends complaining that we'd become Ryan and Katie instead of 2 people. We fought, sure, but it was over stupid stuff, her borrowing my hoodie and then forgetting to give it back, me leaving dishes in the sink to soak for 24 hours. We made up quickly. She'd climb into my lap on the couch, poke my cheek, say, "Are you still mad?" Until I couldn't keep a straight face. If you told me then that one day I'd be sitting across from her and some guy named Mark, negotiating who gets the air fryer while she warned me not to make things ugly, I would have laughed you out of the room. The thing is, there was no single thunderclap moment where she suddenly became a different person. If anything, that's what makes this so hard to talk about. It was a slow drip, a bunch of tiny changes that on their own were easy to excuse. The first time I heard of Mark, he was just this guy at the gym who doesn't re-rack his weights. That's how she introduced him in a story one night. She'd recently gotten really into lifting, followed a bunch of fitness accounts, started meal prepping, the whole thing. I was proud of her. She'd always talked about wanting to take better care of herself, and for once it wasn't just a New Year's resolution. "We have this new trainer," she said, using a fork as a pointer while we ate stir-fry at our wobbly kitchen table. Total bro, but he actually knows his stuff. Opened my hips up properly for squats, didn't realize how stiff I was. I grinned. "I've been trying to open your hips up for years, and you never thanked me like that." She threw a piece of capsicum at me. "You're disgusting." Then, with a little smirk, "Anyway, his name's Mark. He's like a meme in human form. You'd hate him." I remember that word, hate, because it came with this weird little thrill from her, like she liked the idea of me hatting another man in her orbit. I brushed it off. Jealousy has never been a good look in my family. My dad used to accuse my mum of cheating if she took more than 10 minutes at the grocery store, so I've always overcorrected in the other direction. "Cool," I said. "Bring me some of his secrets so I can finally hit 80 kilos on bench." From then on, Mark popped up in stories every now and then. "Mark made me do Bulgarian split squats, I'm suing." "Mark says my deadlift form is better than half the guys in there." "Mark spilled his pre-workout all over his shoes today." Always framed as funny, always with that little disclaimer, "He's just my trainer, just a guy." Someone she barely knew, except for the fact that he apparently knew exactly how to cue her hip hinge. I didn't think much of it until the first time she cancelled date night for the gym. We do Friday night pizza, have since we moved into our place. It's our thing. Even when money was tight, we'd at least split a frozen one and put something dumb on Netflix. One Friday about a year ago, she texted me at 5:30. "Hey babe, Mark's running a free class for his regulars at 7. Is it cool if I go? We can do pizza after." I was sitting in traffic, hungry and fried from a week of dealing with idiots at work. I'm in IT. The "did you try turning it off and on again" cliché is not a joke. My first instinct was no, it's not cool, I've been looking forward to this all week. But then I imagined my dad's voice, the way he used to bark, "You're going out in that," or "Who are you texting?" And my stomach turned. I texted back, "Yeah, go for it. Just bring your swole ass home to me after." She replied with 3 laughing emojis and a bicep. That became the pattern. Little by little, the gym expanded to fill more of her life. Early morning sessions, late evening classes, just grabbing a smoothie with the girls after spin, that now I realize were sometimes not just the girls. When we were on the couch together, she'd be scrolling through Instagram reels of workouts, occasionally tilting the phone to show me. I'd catch glimpses of a too familiar logo on a shirt, the back of a shaved head. I noticed when her phone started living face down on the table. I noticed when she changed her phone password and brushed it off with, "Work stuff, we got a security email, don't be weird." I noticed. And then I told myself to stop noticing, because if I noticed out loud, I'd become the jealous guy, the suspicious guy, the one who made it ugly. The first big red flag I couldn't explain away was stupidly small. I was doing laundry and her gym leggings fell out of the hamper. They smelled like her usual mix of sweat and floral detergent and cologne, a sharp, spicy scent I didn't recognize. I held them up, sniffed again, felt ridiculous and invasive. She walked into the bedroom right then, towel around her hair, and froze when she saw me. "What are you doing?" She laughed, but it was too high-pitched. "Your leggings smell like a men's cologne," I said. "You hooking up with mannequins at Rebel Sport?" I tried to keep it light. She rolled her eyes and grabbed them from me. "They probably fell on someone's stuff at the gym. Relax, you're being weird." I wanted to believe that. I did believe it. Mostly. I stuffed the doubt down with the rest of it and went back to sorting socks. Here's the thing about your gut. If you ignore it long enough, it stops whispering and starts screaming. My scream moment came about 6 months later, in the parking lot of a suburban shopping center. I'd taken a random Wednesday off because I had leftover leave and a headache that had been hovering behind my eyes for days. Katie thought I was working from home. Around lunchtime, I got a craving for that specific banh mi from the place near her gym. She texted me earlier, "Double class today, pray for me," so I assumed she'd be there suffering through burpees. Some stupid romantic part of me thought, I'll swing by and surprise her with lunch. We can sit on the grass out front like teenagers. I pulled into the lot and spotted her car parked under a tree. Hers is this little blue Mazda with a dent in the rear bumper from where she backed into a pole 3 years ago. I parked a few rows over, grabbed the takeaway bag, and headed toward the gym entrance. That's when I saw her, not on a treadmill, not stretching by the window, standing in the shadow between a couple of tall hedges at the edge of the lot. And she wasn't alone. She was in her gym gear, sports bra, loose tank, leggings, and her hair was up in that messy bun that somehow always looked intentional. Her face was flushed, laughing at something the guy in front of her had said. He was wearing the gym's logo shirt, shaved head, muscular in that lean personal trainer way. His hand was on her waist, casual and familiar, fingers slipping slightly under the hem of her tank. I stopped dead. The world did that thing where everything goes quiet except for the sound of your own pulse. I watched him lean down and say something near her ear. She smiled that smile, the one I used to think was mine, all crinkled eyes and teeth. Then she did this quick little scan of the parking lot like a kid checking for parents before lighting a cigarette. I was just far enough away behind another car that she didn't see me. She reached up, put her hand on his chest, and kissed him. It wasn't a peck. It wasn't one of those, oh, friends greeting each other, kisses your brain can try to reframe. It was slow, familiar. Her body leaned into his like they'd been practicing the angle. My stomach lurched, the banh mi bag crinkled in my hand. I realized I was crushing it. For a second, I genuinely thought I might throw up on the spot. I stepped back until my back hit the side of a car that wasn't mine. The metal was hot through my shirt. A car drove by between us, breaking my line of sight. When it passed, they were pulling apart. He smacked her playfully on the hip. She laughed, shoved his shoulder, then they walked toward the gym together, close but not touching, public-appropriate distance. I don't remember walking back to my car. I do remember sitting in the driver's seat with my hands on the wheel, watching them disappear inside through the huge glass windows, and thinking, okay, that's not ambiguous. I could have stormed in there, I could have made a scene, but I didn't. I drove home, banh mi untouched on the passenger seat, brain in some kind of weird slow motion. I put the sandwich on the counter when I got home, stared at it until the bread went soggy. Then I did what any idiot in denial does. I tried to find another explanation. Maybe they were just European-level friendly. Maybe it was a dare. Maybe I saw it wrong. Maybe. I almost convinced myself until that night when she came home and kissed me hello. Her mouth tasted faintly of mint and something else. I pulled back, looking at her face. She seemed normal, chatty, told me about a new exercise she hated, asked what I wanted for dinner. Did you have a good double class? I asked, casual, leaning against the counter. She shrugged. Brutal, Mark's a sadist, my legs are dead. Who is Mark exactly? I asked, watching her open the fridge. She frowned, half inside it. I told you, he's one of the trainers. The bald one with the tattoo on his forearm. She straightened slowly, fridge door still open. Yeah, she said. Why? I saw you today, I said. My voice sounded weirdly distant, like it was coming from the other side of the room, in the parking lot. Her eyes flicked to mine sharp. You what? I was there, I said. I was going to surprise you with lunch. I saw you kissing him. For a second, her face went completely blank. Then it filled, first with something like fear, then with irritation, like the fear was an inconvenience she didn't have time for. She closed the fridge door a little too hard. You were spying on me, she snapped. I was getting a sandwich, I said. Katie, don't do that. Don't make this about me being there. I saw you. She crossed her arms, classic Katie defensive posture. You saw us talking, she said. If we had kissed, it wasn't like that. We're friends. We were messing around. Messing around, I repeated. You had your hand on his chest. He had his hand up your shirt. That looked a lot like a kiss, Katie. She snorted. Wow, you really are your father's son sometimes. You know that. That one hit hard. My dad, who used to go through my mum's phone while she was in the shower. My dad, who accused her of cheating with the mailman because she smiled at him once. I'm not screaming at you or checking your phone, I said, trying to keep my voice level. I saw what I saw. If there's some other explanation, I'm listening. She threw up her hands. Fine, we kissed, once, okay, it was stupid. We were joking around, things got blurry. I pushed him away straight after. I was going to tell you. When? She looked away. I don't know, it didn't mean anything. I barely know him. I laughed, short and humorless. You barely know the guy whose name I hear every week, who trains you 3 times a week, whose cologne is on your clothes. Her eyes narrowed. You've been smelling my clothes. That's not the point, I said. The point is, you kissed him. While you were supposed to be at the gym, you were in the car park making out with your trainer. We were making out, she snapped. It was a stupid moment, and you clearly already decided what you think happened, so why are we even having this conversation? Because I want you to say you're sorry, some part of me thought. I want you to fall apart, tell me it was a mistake, beg me not to leave. I want you to act like this matters. Instead, she rolled her eyes, brushed past me to grab her water bottle, and said, I'm not doing this with you if you're going to be hysterical. Come talk to me when you've calmed down. I didn't scream, I didn't break anything. I went for a long walk, my feet carrying me in circles around our neighborhood until it got dark. When I came back, she was in bed scrolling through her phone, the blue light painting her face. We barely spoke. That's when the gaslighting started in earnest. Little things at first. If I tried to bring it up again, she'd say, we've already talked about that, as if we'd reached some conclusion. If I said I was uncomfortable with her training with him one-on-one, she'd accuse me of trying to control her. I'm not giving up my routine because you decided to be insecure, she'd say. If I suggested couples therapy, she'd scoff. We're not that bad, she'd say. It was one kiss, Ryan, let it go. Except one kiss turned into her coming home later and later. We grabbed drinks after class. You're always asleep anyway. Mark introduced me to some people who are big into networking. It's good for my career. I'd find receipts in the wash from bars nowhere near the gym. Her location would be off to save battery. I wish I could say I grew a spine immediately, but I didn't. I bent until I creaked. I made excuses for her to our friends. When my sister asked why Katie wasn't at family dinner, I said, she's got a big project at work. I didn't say, she chose her trainer over us. The final nail in the coffin, the thing that shoved me from denial into action, came courtesy of technology, of all things. Our iPad, specifically. We share it, or used to. Netflix, recipes, that kind of thing. One Sunday morning, about 3 months after the car park incident, I was on the couch half watching a game, half scrolling on the iPad, when a notification popped up in the corner. New message from Mark. I don't know why the emoji made my stomach flip. Maybe because I'd never seen it there before. Maybe because she'd saved his contact with an emoji at all. I stared at it. My thumb hovered. I knew in that moment that whatever was behind that notification was going to hurt. I also knew that not looking wasn't going to make it not exist. I tapped it. The message preview expanded. It was from some messaging app I didn't even realize she'd downloaded. Mark, last night was insane. Still thinking about you in that dress. When can I see you again? My ears started ringing. My hands went numb. I scrolled up. I know I should have stopped. I know reading someone else's messages is a violation. but in my defense, my marriage already felt like a crime scene. I was just picking up evidence. The chat went back weeks, flirty messages, complaints about me, how I was checked out, how I never wanted to do anything, how I was lazy while she was out here improving herself. Photos, nothing fully explicit, but enough. Her in that yellow dress she wore to my cousin's wedding, except I wasn't the one she was sending the picture to. Him sending mirror selfies from the gym, captions like, "Your favorite view." Then there it was, in black and white. Katie stayed a bit longer at work so we could talk. He bought it, I think. Mark told you he would. He seems like a chill guy, TBH. Katie, he is too chill, that's the problem. That line somehow hurt more than the flirty stuff. Too chill, that's the problem. I'd spent so much effort not being my father, so much effort being laid back and trusting, that my wife had turned it into a character flaw. I don't know how long I sat there scrolling, watching my own life unfold in a parallel conversation I wasn't meant to see. At some point, I realized I was crying. Not big dramatic sobs, just quiet tears sliding down my face onto the iPad screen. Katie was in the shower. I heard the water turn off, the bathroom door open. I locked the iPad and put it face down on the coffee table. My hands were shaking so hard I had to press them between my knees. She walked into the living room in her robe, towel on her head, humming some song off-key. She saw my face and stopped. "What's wrong?" I picked up the iPad, my voice somehow calm. "Who's Mark with the bicep?" Her eyes widened, that tiny flick again. Calculation, then she rolled them. "Oh my God, Ryan, are you seriously going through my messages now?" "I didn't go through your messages," I said. "They popped up, I saw enough." I swallowed. "How long have you been seeing him?" She hesitated, then crossed her arms like armor. "We're not seeing each other," she said. "We've hung out a few times, it's not serious." "How long?" I repeated. She sighed, looked away. "A few months," she said finally. "I don't know, time is weird." "Time is weird," I repeated. "We are married, Katie." Silent. Heard that one a million times online. Never thought it'd be me saying it. She sat down on the arm of the chair, not too close. "Look," she started. "I know this looks bad." I laughed, a short, bitter sound. "It looks like you're having an affair with your trainer and using me as your alibi. That's what it looks like." Her jaw tightened. "You haven't exactly been husband of the year," she snapped. "You sleepwalk through our life, you never initiate anything. You're always tired or on your phone or complaining about work. Mark actually listens to me. He makes me feel alive." It's like there's a script they all get issued. I could almost see the lines forming in front of her. "I'm not saying you haven't been unhappy," I said, voice shaking now. "I'm saying there were about 50 steps between I'm lonely and I'm sending another man photos in the dress my husband loves. You chose this." She stared at the floor. When she looked up, her eyes were shiny but angry. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said. There it was, another line from the script. I stood up. "I want you to pack a bag and go stay at your sister," I said. I surprised myself as much as her. My heart was pounding, but my voice came out steady. "I need you out of the house for a bit." "What?" She sounded genuinely shocked. "You're kicking me out." "I'm asking for space," I said. "You used this house as ground zero for lying to me. I need to think without you packing around trying to spin it." She stood too, fists clenched. "Don't be cruel," she said. "We can work through this. We're adults. People come back from worse." "Maybe," I said, "but not today." She went, clothes stuffing into a duffel, slamming drawers, muttering something about me being so dramatic. I sat on the couch, hands folded, staring at the photo on the mantel from our wedding day, her in white, me in a suit I could barely afford, both of us grinning at something the photographer said. She paused at the front door with her bag. "Don't tell my family yet," she said. "Please, let me figure out how to explain this." "You had months to figure that out," I said. "You can tell them your version, I'll tell them mine." She flinched, then left. That week alone in the house was the worst of my life, and also, in a weird way, the most clarifying. I ate cereal for dinner, forgot to turn lights off, woke up at 3 a.m. with my heart racing. I also called a lawyer, which felt surreal. I'm the guy who reads privacy policies before accepting cookies. I like to know where I stand. Sitting in that office with framed certificates on the wall, saying, "So hypothetically, if my wife is cheating, what are my options?" felt like an out-of-body experience. The lawyer, a calm woman with grey hair in a bun and a pen that clicked satisfyingly, was blunt. "You don't have kids," she said. "You've got equal income. You bought the house together. If you want out, now is the time. It'll hurt, but it'll be clean." "Isn't there something about fault?" I asked. "Like if she cheated, does that change anything?" "In this state," she shook her head. No fault. Courts don't care who slept with who. They care about assets and, if applicable, kids. You can pursue therapy, separation, whatever you want, but legally, cheating doesn't give you extra points. Some part of me had hoped the legal system would swoop in like a movie judge and say, "You're right, Ryan, here's the house and a moral victory." No such luck. On day 3, Katie came back. She texted first. "Can we talk? I'll come over around 6 if that's okay." I said yes. I'd had days to swing between heartbreak and anger, and this weird detached practical mode. By the time she walked back through the door, I wasn't sure which version of me would show up. She looked smaller, hair in a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes, wearing the hoodie she stole from me years ago. She sat on the edge of the armchair, hands in her lap. "I broke things off with Mark," she said without preamble. "For real this time." "Okay," I said. "I told him it was a mistake, that I love my husband, that I want to fix my marriage," she said. "He wasn't exactly thrilled, but whatever. He's not my priority." "Okay," I said again. She frowned. "Can you say something else? Please, I feel like I'm talking to a wall." "What do you want me to say?" I asked. "Congratulations." "I want you to say we can work on this," she said. Her eyes were wet. "I know I fucked up. I know I handled it badly when you confronted me. I've been selfish. I've been cruel. I get that. But I also know we had problems before this. I didn't cheat on Perfect Marriage Island. I cheated in this one, where you go days without touching me and you forget important dates and you act like a roommate who occasionally takes out the trash." The worst part was she wasn't entirely wrong. There had been problems. Years of miscommunications, unspoken resentments, both of us quietly sliding into our own routines. I'd dropped the ball plenty of times. "But you know what I didn't do?" I said quietly. "I didn't take those problems to someone else's bed and then call you crazy when you noticed. I didn't use your trust as cover to sneak out on you. I didn't stand in our kitchen and tell you I barely knew the person I'd been seeing behind your back." She looked down. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "It keeps coming back to this for me," I said. "Yeah, we had issues. Yeah, maybe I was asleep at the wheel sometimes, but you could have left. You could have shouted at me, thrown a plate, told me you were done. You chose to stay and lie. That's a different thing." Silent. "I went to a lawyer," I said, watching her face. She inhaled sharply. "You what?" "I needed to know where I stood," I said. "I needed to know if staying was something I wanted, or if it was just something I was scared not to do." Her eyes filled. "So that's it?" she asked. "You're just going to end us?" "I don't know for sure yet," I said, and that was true. "But I know this. If we do try to fix it, it can't be with him still in the picture. It can't be with you flipping the script every time I say I'm hurt. And honestly, I don't know if I'll ever be able to walk past that gym without seeing you in that parking lot with him." She wiped her face with the sleeve of my hoodie. "I'll quit," she said. "I'll change gyms, I'll block him, I'll give you all my passwords, I'll do therapy, I'll do whatever you want, just don't throw away 9 years because of one chapter." You'd think that'd be the moment where I took her in my arms, where we made some dramatic promise. Instead, I just felt tired, bone deep. "I need time," I said. "I'll stay in the house, you stay at your sister. We can keep talking, but I'm not deciding today." Fast forward another few weeks, a few more stilted conversations, some half-hearted couples, counseling where she alternated between genuine remorse and eye-rolling. "Are we done punishing me yet?" Vibes. Trust, I learned, doesn't rebuild just because someone starts crying in front of a therapist. You need consistent behavior, transparency. A willingness to sit with discomfort without shoving it back onto the other person. Katie could do it in bursts, then she'd snap. Which is how we ended up in mediation. She was the one who formally filed in the end. That surprised me, although maybe it shouldn't have. Control was always her comfort zone. Filing let her feel like she was steering the ship, not waiting to see if I'd throw her overboard. She framed it as, "We're both miserable, this is kindness, and if we do this amicably, we can both move on." I agreed to mediation instead of court because fighting it out in front of a judge sounded like hell. Also because the lawyer had been clear. This wasn't going to be some righteous vindication where her affair meant she had to live in a tent while I got the house and dog. We didn't even have a dog, just a dying fetus. But I drew one line. I did not want Mark involved. In our conversations, in the legal process, in anything, I said that explicitly. "Whatever you do with him is your business," I told her, "but keep him out of this, out of our money, our house, our history." Which brings us back to the beige mediation room, the cheap coffee, the fluorescent lights humming overhead, and Katie walking in 5 minutes late with Mark at her side, fingers intertwined before she dropped his hand to look appropriate. When the door opened and I saw him, I actually laughed. It surprised all 3 of us, including the mediator. Mr. Harris, she said, standing halfway up like we were in some weird courtroom. Katie's smile was too bright. Sorry, there was traffic, she said. This is Mark, he's here for support. I looked at him up close. He was exactly what I expected. Lean, tanned, confident in a Jim Bro way. He couldn't quite meet my eyes. Hey man, he said, voice low. I know this is awkward. I'm just here to make sure Katie's okay. My hands clenched around the coffee cup. She has a lawyer and a mediator, I said. She doesn't need her personal trainer. He flushed. Katie put a hand on his arm. Don't be like that, she said to me. You've got your support system, I've got mine. My support system doesn't have his hand on my ass in the gym car park, I said before I could stop myself. The mediator cleared her throat. Perhaps we can all sit down, she said in that calm, practiced tone people in her job must develop to keep the room from erupting. Ground rules. We're here to discuss the division of assets and reach an agreement that respects both parties. Emotions are understandable, but we'll keep things respectful. We sat. Mark stayed where he was at first, standing behind Katie's chair like some kind of bouncer. My skin crawled. Actually, the mediator said, looking at him, for confidentiality reasons, it's best if only the parties directly involved are present. Katie bristled. He's part of my life, she said. This affects him too. I looked at her genuinely stunned. You invited him to this, I asked, to our divorce mediation. She met my gaze, chin lifting. He's my partner, she said. I'm not hiding that, and I don't want this to turn into some revenge free-for-all. Don't make this ugly, Ryan. There it was, the line. I felt something settle inside me then, weirdly. All the months of doubt and back and forth, of maybe I'm being too harsh, of late night scrolling through reconciliation forums and divorce subreddits, all of it condensed into a single drop of clarity. Don't make this ugly, she'd said, while standing beside the man she'd lied about, minimizing what they'd done, inviting him into a process that was supposed to be about untangling us. She wasn't ashamed. She was annoyed that I might react in a way that inconvenienced her new life plan. Ugly to her meant raising my voice, refusing terms, not playing along with the script where she gets to slide neatly from one life to another with minimal friction. Ugly did not include months of lies, stolen kisses in parking lots, and secret message threads. I took a slow breath. My leg had stopped bouncing. I'm not the one making it ugly, I said quietly. You did that on your own. The mediator looked like she wanted to disappear. Mr. Harris, she said to Mark, I really must insist. He held up his hands. It's fine, he said, stepping back. I'll wait outside. He squeezed Katie's shoulder before he left. That simple, familiar gesture made my jaw clench. When the door shut behind him, there was a heavy silence. Katie stared at me, eyes bright with anger. Was that really necessary? She demanded. Yes, I said. She huffed, turned to the mediator. Can we just get this over with? We talked numbers, mortgage, savings, the stupid air fryer. Katie pushed for us to sell the house immediately and split the proceeds, even though I'd said I wanted to keep it and buy her out, especially since I was the one who could afford the repayments. I don't want to be tied to this place, she said. It's full of bad memories. The mediator looked at me. You mentioned wanting to keep the property, she said. Given your income and the valuation, that is possible if Ms. Harris is willing to agree to a buyout arrangement. Katie rolled her eyes. I'm not waiting years for Ryan to maybe refinance, she said. I want my share now. Mark and I are looking at places closer to the gym. It was like being punched again. Not the fact that she wanted her money, that was expected. The casual way she slotted him into her future plans, discussed buying a place closer to the gym with him while we were still legally married in front of me. In another universe, maybe I would have let that push me into petty revenge, refused everything, forced a drawn-out court process just to spite her. In this one, I did something that surprised us both. I'll sell, I said. Katie's head snapped toward me. We'll split it 50-50. Her mouth opened. You said. I know what I said before, I cut in. But you're right about one thing. I don't want to be tied to this place either. I don't want to walk past that parking lot every day. You can go buy your gym-adjacent love nest. I'll find somewhere I can sleep without wondering who else has been in the bed. The mediator scribbled notes. Katie looked thrown. She'd come in ready for a fight over the house. Taking that fight away from her knocked her off balance. We hashed out the rest. No kids, no pets, no grand custody battles, just stuff. Sheets, appliances, the TV. At one point, we actually argued about who got the good knife set. I had this weird out-of-body moment where I watched myself say, "You don't even cook," and thought, wow, divorce really is just itemizing your life. When we walked out of the mediation center, Mark was leaning against the wall scrolling his phone. He straightened when he saw Katie, eyes flicking to me. "How'd it go?" he asked her. She shrugged. "We're getting there." She didn't look at me. He nodded, then stuck his hand out to me. "No hard feelings, man," he said. I stared at his hand. For a second I imagined squeezing it until the bones ground. Instead, I let my own hands stay at my sides. "Take care of her," I said. My voice was flat. "And try not to tell her you barely know the next guy when this inevitably happens again." His face flushed. Katie hissed, "Ryan," like I'd farted in church. "I'm not making it ugly," I said, turning away. "I'm just not pretending it's pretty. That was 3 months ago. I'm in a small rented apartment now, walls still mostly bare except for a crooked poster and a calendar my mum insisted on buying me. Half my stuff is mismatched, some of it secondhand from Facebook Marketplace. The first week I woke up every day thinking, what have I done? Then I'd remember the iPad, the parking lot, the mediation room, and the thought would slowly shift to, what would I have done to myself if I'd stayed? Katie and I have minimal contact, mostly legal updates, house sale timelines, bank transfers. She sent a long email once detailing how sorry she was, how she hoped I'd forgive her someday, how she and Mark were taking it slow and exploring what this could be. I read it twice, resisting the urge to hit reply with something cruel. In the end, I wrote, "I hope you get the self-awareness and therapy you need. I don't wish you harm, but I'm done being the training ground where you work your issues out on someone else's dignity." She didn't reply. There are moments I miss her, not the version who stood beside Mark telling me not to make things ugly. The version who danced in the kitchen in socks, who cried at dog movies, who made fun of my terrible taste in sneakers. I miss Sunday mornings in our old bed, crossword puzzles half done between us, her leg thrown over mine. I miss having someone who knew my coffee order without asking. But then I think about that mediation room, about how easily she tried to spin things so that my anger was the problem, about how ugly to her meant me refusing to grin and bear it while she rewrote our history. And I think, I deserve better than being told how I'm allowed to feel about my own pain. If there's a point to this wall of text, it's probably this. If you ever find yourself being told, "Don't make this ugly," by someone who created the mess in the first place, take a step back and ask whose definition of ugly you're using. If ugly means standing up for yourself, setting boundaries, refusing to be the easy landing pad for someone else's bad decisions, then maybe ugly is okay. I didn't flip the table, I didn't key his car, I didn't blast screenshots on social media. I sold the house, split the money, moved out, and started therapy. I cry sometimes. I go to the gym now, ironically, a different one. My trainer is a guy named Dan, who is very gay and very uninterested in my love life, which is perfect. Last week I saw Katie and Mark at the supermarket. Of all places, right, they were in the produce aisle arguing about avocados. She saw me first. There was a flick of something on her face, guilt, nostalgia, who knows. Mark gave me a tight nod. I nodded back. No words, no scene. On my way out, bags cutting into my fingers, I caught my reflection in the automatic doors. Same face, more tired eyes, but my shoulders were a little straighter. My hands weren't shaking. Ugly, beautiful, whatever you want to call it, I'm out, and for now that's enough.